If you have an LLC and you have been thinking about a business line of credit from Truist Bank, this is the perfect video for you because I'll be explaining all the hacks and tips and everything we have learned in the last 20 years to help you get approved right away with a large amount. The cool thing here is that since Truist came to fruition after the merger of BB&T and SunTrust, the bank has been very, very generous when it comes to issuing business lines of credit to ALCs and other business structures. So here's an overview I really want you to pay attention to. So when we talk about ALC and Truist Bank in the same sentence, you want to think about generosity. You want to think about flexibility. You want to think about a bank that is ready to help you out. Now, the only problem that Truist has is that Truist is not a national bank as a Chase or Citibank or Wells Fargo or Bank of America. Truist is a regional player, so you have the element of geo restriction there. So you got to be in the geography that Truist covers to take advantage of their ALC business lines of credit. But the cool thing here is that when we talk about Truist LLC lines of credit, you have lines amount that go all the way to $100,000, and you have a 12 to 36 months terms available, which is really, really good. Because generally in the industry, you have about 1 to 4 years, and Truist is just right there in the middle. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here to have this sort of a wonderful conversation with you and explain to you, explore with you the importance of having an LLC business line of credit from Truist. So the thing here is that when we talk about Truist, so you have $100,000, you have 12 to 36 month terms available. And you have the ability to actually renew indefinitely. So after 12 months or 24 months or 36 months, if Truist is comfortable with the way you handle everything, and if you're comfortable with the way they handle everything, then you can renew the line of credit, not a problem. The cool thing is you can apply online, you can apply at a branch, or you can apply over the phone. If you want to apply over the phone, the number here is 855-917-6189. 855-917-6189. The cool thing about the LLC business line of credit from Truist is that you basically are able to apply for a specific line of credit amount. Truist is very flexible. You can borrow up to your available credit limits. You can access funds by transferring money to your checking account or by writing checks, and Truist will facilitate the whole operation for you. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. We love having this sort of conversations every now and then. And so I was talking about the fact that Truist was very, very, very flexible. Okay. And the cool thing here is that some banks will actually accrue interest on all the amounts, but Truist only accrues interest on the outstanding balance, which is really great from a liquidity perspective. Okay. And you can use the line of credit for your LLC as a revolving line of credit, and you can actually reborrow over and over and over. Okay. So the cool thing is you can use the cash for a constellation of things. You can use it to cover seasonal or revolving cash flow. You can have access to working capital where and when you need it. You can access a larger line of credit if secured by collateral. So Truist gives you the ability to go all the way to $1 million if you have corresponding collateral. So if you want to collateralize the LLC line of credit, Truist is willing to go a little bit above. Okay. But if you don't have collateral, their limit is $100,000. And the cool thing here is that if you Truist gives you the ability, if you have a different borrowing needs, let's say you have something that doesn't fit with the LLC line of credit, Truist actually has a wide range of financing options to actually suit you. Okay, you are able to do everything from business loans to equipment financing to CRE loans, so commercial real estate loans. Truist can actually structure for you a specific financing arrangements based on your project. But again, as I said before, the only problem is if you are listening to me right now and you are interested in this opportunity for your ALC, but you're not in the geography that Truist covers, you are not going to benefit because Truist is available in the following states. Like they want your business, your ALC, to be located physically in the following states: Alabama, Arizona, Georgia, Florida, Indiana, Kentucky, Maryland, Mississippi, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Virginia, West Virginia, or District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. And they want you to have also an EIN, okay, to actually qualify for their LLC line of credit. Now, I really want to talk to you about how to actually get a business line of credit for your LLC from Truist Bank. This is really important because as you are trying to understand how to fund your business, what's going to happen here is that everything starts with a relationship. You got to have a relationship with Truist Bank. You got to have a banking account, a checking account, or a savings account. It has to be a business checking account or a business savings account. So you need to have the account, because the account to which you want Truist to send the funds, if your LLC business line of credit were to be approved, has to be the same account that you are going to apply from. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is that if the business line of credit has some fees attached to it, what will happen here is that Truist will deduct the fees from the checking accounts that you have specified. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about ALC business lines of credit from Truist Bank. So you got to be in the geography they cover. So if you are in that geography, you can certainly qualify for an ALC business line of credit with no problem. So the first thing you want to do if you want to qualify for this ALC business line of credit, according to Truist insiders, is that you need to decide how much funding you need. Because Truist wants to make sure that you yourself, the borrower, you have a clear idea of how much you need. And how much you need is not just an amount you can just arbitrarily choose. You got to have a proper calculation or documentation to back it up. It's called the use of loan proceeds. You got to explain to Truist how much, like why do you need $75K as opposed to $57K, as opposed to $25K. So you got to justify that. The second thing I want you to do right now to actually qualify for an ALC business line of credit from Truist Bank is to check your eligibility. So I have already spoken about the geography side of things. So if you qualify in terms of geography, the next thing you want to be clear about is your credit history. So there are three things that Truist cares about. They care about your credit history. They care about your business revenue. They care about your time in business. Now, depending on the relationship that you have with them, depending on the strength of the relationship you have with Truist, they might be willing to maybe forget, quote unquote, forget one criterion out of three. So when we talk about your credit history, so if you have, let's say if you have a bad credit, less than stellar credit, but you happen to have a strong relationship with Truist, they will actually, quote unquote, forget that part and really still approve you for your ALC line of credit. This is why, and we have said this time again, it's really important to establish the right relationship with any bank with which you have an account. So you also want to think about your business revenue. So business revenue is kind of important because it allows Truist to know exactly how much you have generated in the last, let's say, the last year, 2 years, or 3 years, or whatever. I mean, it doesn't really, it's not really a big deal if you have a loss, because a lot of viewers, including you, maybe you're thinking, if I have had losses, Truist is not going to approve me, or any other lender, any other business lender. The thing is, it's not about you having losses. It's about how you are justifying the loss. Why are you having the loss in the first place? So you got to really think about that. Also, you got to think about your time in business. How long have you been in business, right? The whole idea of operational longevity. How long have you been operationally operationally active in this industry. So Truist is going to look at your ALC. And here I'm not talking about the first time you are organized, like the date where you initially send your paperwork to the state for approval. No, that's not the date I'm talking about. I am talking about the date where you actually got approved and you started working. Like your business started generating transactions, right? Receipts, invoices, bills, and what have you. The next thing I want you to do here is to try to pre-qualify for an ALC, business line of credit from Truist. Now, depending on the states where you're in, Truist might have a pre-qualification program for your ALC. In other words, you might be invited to go online and fill in your information and justify why you need Truist and how soon you would like to have the funds. And the thing here is that so when you actually do this with Truist, you need to understand that Truist might not be the right lender for you. Like you can try everything, but what if their conditions are not really what you are expecting? Then you need to start thinking about other players in the industry. But by the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. I am having a conversation about ALC, business lines of credit from Truist Bank. How do you actually crush it? How do you get the line amount that you need? So the point I was trying to make here is that no matter how much you want to have a loan from Truist or a line of credit from Truist, you always have to keep the door open for the opportunity or the alternative. So if Truist doesn't want your ass, at least you have a backup plan. So in terms of lines of credit from banks, you can consider players such as a PNC, TD Bank. You have players such as BMO Harris. You have players such as US Bank, okay, Fifth Third. Those are players that actually compete with Truist at the regional level. Because if you were to go to the national level, then you'll have all the biggies such as Chase, Bank of America. So those are not really your, you don't want to go apply there. You want to look regionally which lender can qualify you. And one thing I want to say also is that you actually have to think about maybe going to a credit union to apply. So because sometimes credit unions have better rates than traditional banks. So when you actually start applying and you realize that they're not really helping you, they're not really approving you, and because they think your ALC is too risky or whatever, then you want to shift your strategy to online. There are some lenders on the internet, like online lenders such as, for example, you have Blue Vine. You have On Deck, you have Cabbage, now called American Express Business Line of Credit, American Express Blueprint, American Express Blueprint. Okay, so you do have choices. The next thing I want you to do here is to gather the required documentation. Luckily, Truist doesn't ask for a lot of information, and a lot of information. Let me just rephrase this. Is what they do is that they will actually work with you, but they will ask for information in drips. They're not going to bombard you with requests all at once. They'll ask you to actually give them stuff small, as my father will say. So the thing here is that generally, Truist will want to see your personal and business tax returns. They want to see your business licenses, your articles of organization, because you are an ALC. Truist might want to see your personal and business bank statements. And this is kind of important because they are trying to establish how you derive your revenue. Okay. And Truist just wants to make sure that they're comfortable with the way you manage your cash, with the way you actually run your business. And this is just a way for them to, again, solidify their confidence in you. Okay. And it's one of those things you can't do anything against. You just have to go with the system. You also want to think about your profit and loss statements, so your P&L. And Truist might want to see your P&L statements. And sometimes they might be curious and say, you know what, we want the overall picture. So instead of having, let's say, a P&L, which is just a small portion of your financial picture, We want to get access to the whole thing. So they'll ask you to provide a full set of financial statements. So this is where you actually have to think about your balance sheet. You have to think about your income statement. You have to think about your statement cash flow. You got to think about your owner's equity statement. And one thing I also want to say here is that it's really important to understand that you might have to provide a business plan and a building lease agreement. So a business plan allows you to be clear about what your business, your ALC, is going to do in the next 6 to 9 months or even longer. And in some cases, you might have to provide documentation to back up that business plan, which is why you really want to work with a lot of people in your teams, including like the back office and the front office folks. This is really important. And the last thing I want you to do here is to go to a Truist. You want to go to a Truist bank and you want to apply there. And the reason why you want to apply for your ALC, business line of credit, at a Truist bank is because you are able to talk to a loan officer or a line of credit officer before you apply. You can ask all questions. You can really try to find more about the program before applying, before hitting the submit application, the submit button. So just remember that when we talk about submitting your application, they will ask you for your name, for your business name, for your social security number, for your desired loan amount, for the loan purpose, the business tax ID, your annual revenue. So you do have a constellation of things to succeed. If you are able to do it, then this is totally fine. And remember that when you actually fill out the application, there are certain mistakes you need to avoid. Okay, and you want to make sure that you double check all the numbers, contact information, and other relevant details before submitting. If you include an error, this could really delay the process or hurt your chances of being approved in the first place. So this is important. And also make sure that you think about the business line of credit, cost, and fees, how much Truist is really charging you. Like they listed a lot of things, they usually list a lot of things, but sometimes when you start digging, you realize that things are not really what they should be. So again, Truist is a very transparent bank, but sometimes you need to ask questions twice or 3 times to get the right answer. Okay, it's all about the branches in your geography, and also pay attention to the Truist ALC business line of credit, cost and fees. You have interest rates, draw fee, payment processing fee, late fee, termination fee, prepayment penalties. So those are important elements to keep in mind as you actually navigate the ALC business line of credit arrangement from Truist. Very, very important. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just quickly talking to you about ALC, business lines of credit from Truist. How do you get approved with a large amount? And I just give you the overview, the steps you need to follow. And that's it. I will see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.